Hi, my name is Joe. Welcome to my shop. Today I want to talk about fuck-ups. These right here is a collection of parts and end mills and tools and stuff that I've totally fucked up since I got my CNC mill in April. But I also want to talk about fuck-ups more generally. Let's get into it. So this is the collection of my most charismatic and interesting fuck-ups. You know, I made little errors in things that are not that interesting or maybe even hard to notice, but this one here, I had machined the first operation of this part, the second operation of this part, the third operation where I drilled these holes, and now in the final operation, I was machining this and my end mill was pulling out of its tool holder. It went too deep and it destroyed the end mill and it destroyed the part. You know, I'll be able to use this block of aluminum for something eventually, but you know, it's right now it's charismatic scrap. I'm gonna hold on to this for a while. This was a piece last week, right? This was, I had machined the first operation, put it in the vise for the second operation, and it's trying to face off the top. I forgot to tighten this goddamn thing in the vise. I start running the program, the cutter comes along, pulls the part up in the air, pushes really hard against it, trips the load meter for the X-axis drive or whatever that is. And while it was spinning there before it tripped the meter, it was just smearing this, you know, so much heat and pressure. That was not on a cutting edge. This here happened from heat and pressure. Really, you know, pushed hard on this. So I checked the machine over. The spindle bearings seemed fine. The tool seemed to be projecting from the spindle nose the same amount. And so I just ran it again like an idiot. This was the next part. Faced it off real nice. The chamfering tool, though, this is supposed to trace the outside subtly. It didn't even touch this side. Here you can see it's a heavy chamfer that goes to a very light chamfer, because what had happened is when it pushed against the vise real hard, it cocked the vise a little bit, and then it also pushed the part stop that was against this edge. And now when it came again the next time, the tool came around. And, you know, I mean, this is scrap now. You know, I'll use this for something someday. It's a nice square piece of aluminum. But as far as saleable stuff, it's scrap, you know, because I was too hasty. I didn't check that my vise and my stop were in the same place. Which would have taken another 2 minutes or something. And this is a $10 piece of aluminum, so that's a shame. This one here also, I forgot to tighten this in the vise. It was a piece of stainless. It's really more of a lathe part, but I'm making do with what I have. And I forgot to tighten it, and it just, as soon as the end mill came into contact with it, it just kind of pulled it and spun it up in the air, and it chewed up the outside with an end mill. And then this is all my cutting tools. You can see drills that burned up in stainless. This one real bad. I didn't catch this one fast enough. It really screwed that up. You know, just snapped off an end mill. I was pushing it too hard on bronze, and it just flew apart. This was the end mill that pulled out when I was doing this, chewed up the tip. This was an end mill that I had to stick out a ways from the tool holder to get into a particular spot, and then I forgot to lift the clearance plane high enough, and as it was rapid traversing across the machine, it ran into some of the clamps and it just snapped right off. Very loud when carbide breaks like this. And so right here, you know, we have, I don't know, a couple $100 worth of scrap and tooling and in material, but you know, that's just part of learning. That's just what happens when you're trying to learn how to do something. And honestly, going into this whole CNC adventure, I thought that I was going to scrap more. I thought there was going to be more of an expensive learning curve than there has been. And with the software these days, it's actually not as hard to learn as I used to think that it might be. The software is pretty user-friendly. If you have your work coordinate system and your tool length offsets set right, you know, you mostly avoid the catastrophic failures, and those things are pretty easy to be careful about. And so this is not that bad. And generally, when you're trying to do something like you know, in business and in life, when you're learning a skill like welding, whatever it is you're trying to do, you're gonna break some omelets to make an egg. I love saying that. So you know, I mean, this is actually a relatively small pile of total screw-ups, and I think I should be willing to take even more risks, because, you know, if you want to get from point A, which is like relatively low experience in business and in machining and in customer relationships, and you want to get to where you're very comfortable with those things and you're very established, you need to do a lot. And if you're babying everything, and if you're very careful about every little thing you do because you know it's a little bit safer, you're still going to make mistakes, but along the way you will have done so much less. And so I think, you know, a lot of people say this, and it's really important that, you know, you need to be willing to screw stuff up along the way, because it is the fastest and most effective way to really learn what it is you're trying to learn. And so, you know, you've heard the message before, and I just want to say it again. It's very important to go out there and screw some stuff up. Screw it up it's just screw it up the hardest, you know? Part of the reason I wanted to make this video is just I think I'm exactly the audience for this kind of video, which is to say that in the last 15 years or so with my hobbies and career interests, I've been a little bit too focused on perfection generally, on like trying to get things right before I ship it, trying to get things right before I really like, you know, put my shingle out if it's a business thing or whatever it is, like trying to really be ready for something before I do it. But like, you're pretty much never going to be totally ready for stuff. And so I guess I'm talking to myself and anyone who might feel that way about that sort of thing, where it's just like, what I'm saying is, look where you want to go, and then chart a clear and direct path to getting there, and realize that you're going to fuck up a lot of stuff along the way, and that's not necessarily a problem at all. That might be the best way to go about it. If you like the videos, you know what to do. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.